Hi, this is Carolyn, and today we're playing with transferring full color images to paper and to the Gelli Plate using acrylic medium or Mod Podge. So first I'll do an experiment in my art journal. I'm going to select a nice shiny image on light magazine paper out of a National Geographic, and I am going to cover a paper in my art journal with acrylic medium. I'm using a house painting brush here, nice and broad and soft. I'm being careful that I don't use too much medium because I don't want to buckle or wet the page. So just enough to make the page sticky so that when I invert my image onto it, it will adhere completely. And at this point, you can use a silicone wedge or one of these silicone brushes or a credit card, but it might be a bit too sharp, to push the bubbles out of the paper from the middle so that the image on the other side is completely connected to the paper. On the other page, on the other side, let's try Mod Podge. So we're doing exactly the same thing, but now we're using Mod Podge. Now let's talk about Mod Podge a bit. Mod Podge, I think, is just, basically white glue. And when I used to teach high school students, indeed when I was a student, we used to use white glue for this. So I think white glue will work. In terms of art supplies, acrylic medium is fairly expensive. And what we see in this demo is that Mod Podge works as well as acrylic medium. If you've been following me on my channel, you'll know that I play fast and loose with art supplies and generally choose to try the cheaper, more accessible option before the more expensive option. So now we're doing exactly the same we did on the art journal paper on our Gelli Plate. So this first one is the acrylic medium, and I'm just doing exactly the same. Put a little bit down just so that the image will stick to it. Not too much because I don't want to buckle the paper. On the other side, I'm using the Mod Podge and I'm putting an image down on it. And even though I didn't show it because it would make the video really long, I do the same for each of these as I did for the journal. I put them down and then push all the air out using a silicone wedge. And when the images are down, I wait for them to dry. That doesn't take very long actually, about 10 minutes. Acrylic paint and medium and Mod Podge all dry really fast. So back to the art journal here. The next step is to wet the image. So what I'm doing is I'm actually wetting the fibers on the back of the side of the page that had the original image printed on it. I'm just trying to be really clear here, but because there are always questions about, how I'm communicating. So let me try again. A piece of paper is printed on both sides. And paper, of course, even though we don't see it as thick, is thick. It's made up of layers of fiber. So one image is printed on the fibers on one side of the sheet, and the other image is printed on the fibers of the other side of the sheet. And what we're doing here is removing the fibers of the back of the sheet, so the back half of the paper. And so this has super fun potential for transferring photographs, bits of newspaper, collage that you've made with lighter papers, and so on. Even paintings, marker drawings, anything you can glue onto the acrylic medium will transfer, and you can always peel the fibers behind it off by wetting them. So I'm just showing you for a minute here how slowly and carefully I go. When I was first learning this years ago, I went too quickly. And if you don't wait for the acrylic medium to dry, or you're too rough when you pull the fibers off, then you'll pull off bits of the image as well and you won't be happy with the transfer. One thing is for sure though, this is a heck of a lot easier and more of a sure thing than the acrylic paint transfer that people are trying to get onto Gelli plates, which actually is a resist, right? I talk about that in one of my other videos. I'm intrigued by people's determination and fascination to transfer images. It's not something I have ever been interested in as an artist, but having fallen into this Gelli print teaching, I noticed that so many people really want to figure out how to transfer images. it's become a really hot pursuit. And the really cool thing about doing it this way is that you can get full color transfers. The reason I wanted to try it on a Gelli plate is because I want to transfer things and then be able to see the text right way around. So when you transfer it upside down onto paper, you invert the text, but then when you pick it up again on a Gelli plate, then the text is the right way around. So this on the right side is the sample with Mod Podge, and maybe because it's been on longer or maybe because it's Mod Podge, the paper came off quite a bit more easily. So the results are good. I should have chosen a higher contrast image here. It's a picture of a brown moth on a brown background. The effects are a little grungy, but that's the nature of the beast. That's what we're doing. We're not making exact photographs here, because then you could just use exact photographs. So here's exactly the same process on the Gelli plates. The one on the left was the medium, and the one on the right is the Mod Podge. And that's enabling us to remove the back layer, same as with the paper. It worked exactly the same way, which I'm relieved at and surprised at. This is a true experiment. This is the first time I'm trying it, and I'm trying it on the camera here. I thought I would just hang my iPad over the table and try to catch it if it works. So I'm pleased that it works. I'm surprised it works too. Okay, so you can see that the image adhered to the Gelli plate in exactly the same way that it adhered to the paper in the art journal before. Look at that, there's the little seal and the text at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to lift it up. So this is being lifted up with the Deco Art ivory paint. And I think the great application for this is that you can transfer full color images, and you can read the text because you had inverted it and then you're inverting it back. I experiment with these things in my art journal so that I can make notes beside them and flip through and remember what I tried. I made a video about playing in my art journal a few weeks ago that looks like this, so give it a click if you're interested. And please subscribe to my channel if you're watching these videos. So this is the one that was done with Mod Podge, and we'll see how it turned out. Again, I'm just wetting the backside of the paper with a wet paintbrush. You can see the paper soaking up the water here. And with the Mod Podge, again, it peels off pretty easily. The Mod Podge does seem to be stickier than the acrylic medium. And again, I'm picking it up with the same Deco Art ivory paint. And experimenting with it in my art journal. And they're ready to be lifted. The plate's coming up clean. So here is the Mod Podge version. So the Gelli printing, I guess, is an other layer of risk. So now you're really transferring a transfer, so there's twice the holes. But still, it worked. That's an orangutan in a bush from the National Geographic, and here is the seal on the ice. And they're discernible and fun for transfers. There's lots of things you can do with this. And although the images didn't turn out whole, the print is crystal clear when it prints. You can see that in the text. So that's my kick at the can for today. Show me what you do.